Topic of this video is Bruce Lee was beyond a hero. So this is what I was thinking about, and it's really obvious to me. Now that with the Black Panther coming out, out and everything, it's so popular. One thing that's really popular nowadays is, fantasy comic book type of things. Black Panther, Spider-Man, Batman. You know, they're playing these people that aren't real, but they're comic book figures. Even the Wolverine with Hugh Jackman. So basically, different people will play Spider-Man, but the Spider-Man movies will continue. There might be like 5 of them, 10 of them. Batman, the person that plays Batman will change, but the character of Batman will continue for a long time. Maybe make like 10 different Batmans. And every person that plays these characters, they're not really famous for who they are. They're famous because they're playing that character. Whereas Bruce Lee pretty much became famous for being Bruce Lee, basically being who he is, opposed to being famous off of playing a character. Because even if you try to think about the movies that Bruce Lee was in, you don't even really remember his name that he was playing in those movies. He wasn't just trying to be somebody that he wasn't. Basically, he was just who he was, and that's what made him famous. Just being himself. He was famous because he truly was a martial artist. He truly was capable of doing what he was displaying on film. This stuff is not fake. He wasn't pretending. He was actually capable. He was a martial artist first and an actor second. Whereas these other people, they are actors first, and the characters that they play is not really who they are. They're just playing the character because they're an actor. So you could have 1,000 people play Spider-Man, but the people that play Spider-Man are only famous because of the character of Spider-Man. But whereas Bruce Lee, he was not playing any character that made him famous. He became famous because of who he was. And that's why Bruce Lee cannot be replaced. He never can be. But the person under the mask of Batman can always be replaced. And nowadays, all they really care about is, hey, as long as he looks ripped. As long as Hugh Jackman looks ripped. As long as even the Deadpool, the guy that Ryan Reynolds is playing, Deadpool is ripped. As long as the character that The Rock is playing, whatever character he's playing, as long as he's ripped. I think he was in Hercules. As long as he's ripped in there. Like all they care about, Spider-Man as long as he looks ripped, Batman as long as he looks ripped, Superman as long as he looks ripped. All that they care about is physique and how you look. Like, as far as actually being skillful in what you do in the martial arts, they don't care about that. Because they got stunt doubles for that. They got the computer graphics for that. Then they hired some fight choreographer for that. But Bruce Lee pretty much was a one-man show. He ended up directing his own movies. He ended up becoming the fight choreographer for all his movies. He was the main actor in his movies. He was doing everything on his own to highlight his abilities in everything. He was really a martial artist first and an actor second. And that's something that probably will never happen again. But there are certain actors who gain fame after Bruce Lee, like Jean-Claude Van Damme, practiced martial arts you know, Jet Li, Jackie Chan, Donnie Yen. So they are known for being martial artists first and then being actors after. Whereas nowadays, it's just, hey, you know, let's find some buff guy just to play this comic book action hero. And then these comic book people are gonna have skill sets of which are of fantasy. You know, Superman can fly, Spider-Man can shoot out webs, you know, Hercules got special strength powers, Wolverine can regenerate. Like, every single person out there that they're playing these characters are all fake things that are being manipulated by computer graphics and thought of in the mind of a fantasy in a comic book. And pretty much anybody can play those characters as long as they can act and as long as they, you know, at least look buff for the role. But as far as Bruce Lee was concerned, he trained in martial arts for like over 20 years. You know, and it was his life, and he was a philosopher, very educated. He was acting since he was a little kid. Since he was born, he was acting. And he put his being, his spirit into his work. And he became famous because of that, because of who he was. You know, now people, after 50 years of him dying, people are still talking about him. You know, the people in the fight in the cage are talking about him. People in the movies are talking about him. You know, people that practice martial arts talk about him. People that don't even practice martial arts talk about him. Like, everybody's talking about him because of who he was as a human being. You know, whereas these other actors, it's like, you know, people are reading Bruce Lee's books and learning from him. Whereas these other actors, like, who even cares? Like, people, they don't really truly learn from this person. You know, from the person that plays Spider-Man. Like, who really cares? The person that played Batman. Like, who really cares? But people are studying the life of Bruce Lee. Not because he played some character, but because of who he was. You know, and the greatness that he had to share to this world. And because he was so unique being himself, that's why he can never be replaced. Batman can be replaced. Spider-Man can be replaced. Superman can be replaced. James Bond can be replaced. And that's what they do. They just keep replacing these people to make money off of a fantasy. Superman's not real. Wolverine's not real. Black Panther's not real. But they're going to make money off of that fantasy. But you can't do that with Bruce Lee, because Bruce Lee was just who he was. He was himself, authentic. And that's why I see him to be beyond a superhero. He was basically just a real human being that was very talented in what he did. And it inspires other people to become talented like him, because it's not something that's a fantasy, but it's something that's real. You know, you don't think about, oh, you know, I want to be like Superman. I want to be like Batman. I want to be like Spider-Man. Well, as soon as you develop any sort of intelligence, you realize that it's all fake. It's all false. You can never be that. But when you study Bruce Lee, you're like, wow, I could do that. I could become that if I work hard enough. I could be able to write like him. I could be able to teach like him. I could be able to have speed like him. I could be able to fight like him. I could be able to act like him. You could actually achieve what he achieved because what he was displaying was actually real. But nowadays, we don't have that. You know, everybody's just looking at fake things. It's all false. You know, and I'm attracted to what's real. And that's why I keep talking about him, because he's one of the very few that was displaying something real. You know, it's like the difference between the real Michael Jordan playing basketball in the NBA opposed to some person playing a character, a fantasy character of a great basketball player that never even existed. That whatever he does on the screen it's not even something that a human can even accomplish, because you're just focusing on fantasy so much. And that's the thing about me, is like, I like the real. You know, and if I cannot be inspired by the outside, by something real, then I want to become what's real. I want to be what's real. You know, that's what it got me to think about. You know, it's something worth thinking about. But it's beyond just Bruce Lee being Chinese, you know, because, you know, there is Jet Li, he's Chinese. There's Jackie Chan, there's Donnie Yen, but there's Chow Yun-fat, there's Andy Lau. There's a lot of Chinese actors out there in this world, but I'm not drawn to them the way that I was drawn to Bruce. You know, it's something beyond just being Chinese. It's something beyond just being a buff person playing a role in Hollywood, like The Rock. This person was really a martial artist. He dedicated pretty much his whole life to the martial arts. And that is rare for anybody to put so much time into the martial arts the way that he did. And in addition, he was born into acting. And that became the way for him to express the martial arts worldwide. And that, to me, is an inspiration. Not none of these superhero movies that are out there today. None of them inspire me in any way whatsoever. You know, but that's how I feel about it.